Today's Browns report shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't get people stirred up in the comment section whatsoever because we're talking about QB trade targets. Now, I want to get ahead of this right now. I think two things. One, I don't think a trade is likely. Two, I don't want the Browns to move on from Baker Mayfield before next season. I want to get ahead of it right now. Those are my two stances on what's a pretty controversial and polarizing topic in Cleveland. Now, Mary Kay, who does, I think, a good job covering the Browns at Cleveland.com, she's been doing it for a long time, put out a bit of a hit piece yesterday on the Cleveland.com website looking at 5 trade targets for the Browns, and we're going to look at all 5 names she included. I think that she's a little grumpy with Baker after the two of them had a Twitter feud a couple of weeks ago where Baker said her article was clickbait, and the rest of the Big J journalists in Cleveland came in to defend Mary Kay, and I wonder now if she's trying to stir the pot a little bit and get people on her side to encourage a trade, even though Andrew Berry in his final press conference of the year said Baker Mayfield is our quarterback, and we should believe that until any other smoke signals come out saying otherwise. How likely is a trade? 10%? If that high, I think that sounds about right. Unless something comes across GM Andrew Berry's desk that he cannot pass up on, I don't think he will be actively searching to make a trade this offseason. So I'm pegging it at about 10%. You can let me know what you think down below in the comment section for how likely you think a trade is to happen. But I've got 5 trade options, and they're ranked in order of least likely to most likely, and Russell Wilson comes in at number 5. I think he is the least likely candidate. You'll see who number 4 is in a little bit. You could probably swap those two, and I bet you can already guess who number 5 is. Russell Wilson trade rumors were really hot last offseason. They were hot back in November, December, and they've kind of cooled off. And Russell Wilson, he kind of annoys me because he says, listen, I want to finish my career in Seattle, but I don't know where I'm going to be. Dude, you control where you play. You have a no-trade clause. The Seahawks don't want to trade you. So if you say, I want to stay in Seattle, then John Schneider, the GM in Seattle, will be like, awesome, we don't want you to go anywhere either. I've also put together 5 mock trades to give you a rough idea of what I think a trade would look like. Keyword is rough. And this is sandpaper rough. I could be way off. I'm sure plenty of you would tell me I'm way off. But I do think it's worth noting that Wilson and whoever the next guy is, you'll see in a second, will cost a lump sum. So if a trade did happen for Russell Wilson, I think it's going to cost the Browns their first-round pick in 2022, 2023, a pair of seconds those years, 2024 second-rounder, and Baker Mayfield as well. I know, that's a ton. But that's how much quarterbacks go for. I mean, the Lions and Rams trade for Goff and Stafford cost the Rams 2 first-round picks. I think that Wilson is worth more than 2 first-round picks. So you toss in those seconds, maybe that's too much. Maybe it's not even enough, honestly. My first question, though, I really want to ask on today's show is, do you want the Browns to trade for a quarterback? Do you want to stick with Baker? Or do you want them to actually go out and make a push to trade for someone this offseason? This is the pinned comment on today's show, so scroll on down if a YouTube ad break comes on by. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Number 4 on my list, yeah, surprise, surprise. It's Aaron Rodgers, the Packers quarterback, who I think a trade is inevitable. I think the Packers have not done enough justice for Rodgers in terms of what they have supplied him after drafting Jordan Love with their first-round pick 2 seasons ago. And so to me, a trade seems very likely. The connection for Rodgers and the Browns, albeit rather small, it is somewhat significant. The Browns offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, AVP, was Rodgers' QB coach in Green Bay from 2014 to 2017. In fact, he was even with the Packers for a little bit longer. He was the running back coach from 2012 to 2014. And it looked like those two guys were pretty good buddies. I don't know if they had movie nights or what it was, but when AVP was when the Packers let AVP leave / let go, well, Aaron Rodgers said this. Well, my quarterback coach didn't get retained. I thought that was an interesting change, really without consulting me. There's a close connection between quarterback and quarterback coach, and that was an interesting decision. So clearly Rodgers has some kind of feelings for AVP. I don't know if it's enough feelings for him to want to come to Cleveland. That's a big stretch right there, but it's enough to make him number 4 on the list over Russell Wilson. If a trade happened, something like this, a first and second like Russell, a first and second 2023, I think he's a little less valuable than Russell Wilson because of the age factor. Rodgers is 38. Wilson's in his early 30s. So they get a third and Baker Mayfield. Meanwhile, the Browns get Aaron Rodgers and a 6th-rounder to kind of compensate the huge contract Cleveland would have to take on to get Aaron Rodgers. I think we're living in fantasy land if we ever think this trade is ever going to happen. I think Rodgers is going to get out of Green Bay, but I don't know if it's going to be in Cleveland. Before we get to the rest of some Rodgers talk here, if you guys are ready for some warm weather and the NFL draft to come about, then hit that big red button and subscribe. Listen, I can't tell you if you subscribe that it's going to get warmer outside, but I can tell you that you're going to get tons of Browns draft coverage, mock drafts, draft targets, all that good stuff here at the channel. So join if you have not already, and if you have, we appreciate you being a part of what's a growing Cleveland Browns channel here on YouTube. BetUS, our proud sportsbook partner, got some odds out there on destination odds for Aaron Rodgers and where he may end up. And I was shocked to see the Browns crack the top 5, plus 800. There's a lot of teams in between number 1 and number 5. I think the Broncos and the Steelers make the most sense. I pray to Almighty Jesus it is not the Steelers, because I don't want the Browns to have to face Aaron Rodgers twice a season. Let him go to Denver, kind of be still in the AFC, but at least not in the North. But like I was saying, BetUS, our proud sportsbook partner today, has a great deal going on for anyone that goes to chatsports.com/bet. When you go there and you put the promo code Browns125 in, you get a 125% deposit bonus. What that means in English, you bet $100 or you put $100 in, they're going to put an extra $125 on top of that. So now you got $225 to play with. Put some money down on Aaron Rodgers to Cleveland if you've got him on speed dial, and maybe you want to cook him part of that deal. I mean, that's not fraud or illegal or anything like that. But go on over to BetUS. Make sure you make all your gambling operations done with our great sportsbook partner. Ride with me there. Bet on the Super Bowl. Bet on the Cavs. Whatever you want to bet on, do it at BetUS. Number 3 on the list today is Derek Carr. Now we've entered a second tier of realistic-ish. Wilson and Rodgers, not so much. Carr, actually more attainable. And when you stack up Carr to Baker Mayfield, I bet you'd be surprised to see how far apart they are. So since Baker Mayfield came into the league in 2018, here are their 2 numbers. I mean, Derek Carr blows him out of the water essentially in every category but touchdowns, and he's only played 5 more games. Carr actually hasn't missed a start since 2018. He's only missed 1 start in his career, I believe, when he got hurt in Week 17 before their great 2014 season. Mayfield has 2 more touchdowns than Carr, but it's the interceptions and the lack of completion percentage that's a little more eye-jarring right there that really separates the 2. However, Derek Carr is entering the final year of his contract, which is something we should note, because I don't know if Andrew Berry wants to trade a quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who's also on the last year of his contract, for another quarterback that's on the last year of his contract. Either way, Barry will only have 1 season to make a decision about who the quarterback is going forward, if it's Carr or if it's Baker. Here's my mock trade. I really struggle making this one. So hand up, if you want to call me out, by all means. I could be way off. But I think it looks something like the Browns getting Derek Carr and a 2022 third-round pick, while the Raiders receive Baker and a 4th-round pick, because I think the Browns would want to get more for Mayfield than the Raiders would get for Carr because of the age factor. Maybe you could probably swap those picks. They seem rather equal to me. Carr on paper, better quarterback. Mayfield, 1st overall pick, younger in his career. You know way more about Derek Carr so far. Mayfield, a little more still to discover who he is as a quarterback in the NFL. Who is the better quarterback, though? Is it Derek Carr or Baker Mayfield? Let me know what you think. If you think it's DC, if you think it's Derek Carr, go down in the comment section. Or if you think it's Baker Mayfield, spam BM down below. Let me know who you think the better QB is down in the comments. Number 2 on my list is Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G. What a polarizing topic he can be, because his team does very well when he's at quarterback, but it may be in despite of him. So 2022, like Carr, will be Jimmy G's final year on his contract, and he's set to make just under $28 million against the cap. That's a lot of money to take on for a team, but at the same time, the cap is going up this year. Meanwhile, San Francisco, they've got a pretzel in their head. They don't know what to do most likely at quarterback next year. They drafted Trey Lance in top 5 this past draft, but now Garoppolo has their team in the NFC Championship game. How do you move on from a quarterback who's brought this team this far? Imagine if he takes them to the Super Bowl. You're going to ditch your quarterback that got your team to the Super Bowl? It's going to be a tough decision for the 49ers this offseason. Overall, though, Garoppolo, he's a tough nut. He's a tough nut to crack, because are the 49ers winning because of him, or is he actually holding them back and they could be doing way better with a quarterback that hasn't struggled so much in the playoffs like Garoppolo has? But then again, he's won a lot of football games for them. So, don't break what's not broken. It's working for them, so why move on? Both Garoppolo and Carr are lame duck quarterbacks, like Baker Mayfield and like the next guy you're going to see, all entering the final year of their contract, which doesn't make it a very sexy trade option, because you only get 1 year of him before you either got to be the team that pays him his brand new bigger contract, or you move on from him after 1 year, and the trade was a disaster. So it's not going to be an easy decision for Andrew Berry if he wants to go out and acquire a quarterback who's on the final year of his contract. If a trade happened, something like this, Garoppolo comes to Cleveland and a 6th-round pick, and the 49ers get Baker Mayfield and a 2nd-round pick. Is Jimmy G worth a 2nd-round pick? Maybe, maybe not. He's won a bunch, but his stats aren't always the prettiest. But he's gotten his team this far in the playoffs. However, I don't know how Jimmy G would stack up against some of these other AFC quarterbacks like Mahomes and Allen and Herbert. It may be a bit far-fetched to go out and get Jimmy G and give up a 2022 2nd-rounder. Now, drum roll, please. Number 1 is Kirk Cousins. This one, I think, is the most realistic, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot there that could make this trade happen. So, first off, tons of connections. Kevin Stefanski used to be with the Vikings for quite some time. In fact, they overlapped in Minnesota from 2018-19 up until Stefanski took the Browns job. The Vikings' new general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he was the Browns' VP of football operations up until yesterday. So the new Vikings GM has a ton of knowledge on Baker Mayfield, and maybe he wants to bring Baker Mayfield into Minnesota and get rid of Kirk Cousins, who's set to take on a whopping $35 million cap hit next season that Kwesi may not want to be a part of. Maybe he'd rather trade Kirk Cousins, get Baker Mayfield, who he thinks could be better than Kirk, and save $17 million, because Baker's only making $18 million next season. That could be something the Vikings are interested. And on the Browns side of things, Kevin Stefanski goes, I love Kirk Cousins. I had a great time working with him when I was in Minnesota. Bring him over. I'd rather have him than Baker. If a trade happens, I think this would be the trade. Of the 4 of the 5 players you've seen, this one seems the most realistic because there's so much connections between the two teams here. In fact, I think a trade could look something like this. Browns getting Kirk Cousins, a 4th-round pick, and the Vikings get Baker Mayfield, a 2022 2nd-round pick, and a 2023 4th-round pick. Seems rather fair to me. I would say Kirk Cousins at this point is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. I know there's still a lot to be proven for Baker. He's done so much for the Browns. He's gotten this team not only to the playoffs, but a postseason win in Pittsburgh against their big rivals, the Steelers. But Cousins' numbers speak for themselves. And I get it. Sometimes he sucks at doing what's the most important thing to do, winning. But he's got great numbers, so maybe he just needs to tighten some screws, and Kevin Stefanski thinks he's got the tool chest to do that. Of all the 5 quarterbacks you've seen, who would you like the Browns to trade for? If you think it's Wilson, type 5. If you think it's Cousins, type 1. Let me know who you want the Browns to go out and make a trade for in the comments section below. We'll catch you later here on the Cleveland Browns Report.